Hello and welcome to the CEO table, where strategy, sanity, and legacy take center stage. I'm your host, Bernadette L. Harris. I'm a business strategist, forensic accountant, and the business truth teller that you didn't know you needed. Pull up a chair. Let's talk about business and building a business, that honors your brilliance and your peace. So today's conversation is going to be about something that doesn't always show up on your profit and loss statement, but it definitely shows up in every corner of your business. We're talking about burnout. So let's talk about what the real cost of burnout is. And we're going to give you some strategies today on how to shift that. So let's talk about the real cost of burnout. Sometimes when we're burnt out, it shows up like missed deadlines. What does that cost your business when you miss crucial deadlines? Being reactive in your decision making, or maybe even team turnover. Again, these are things that we can't pinpoint these things to burnout, but they do affect our bottom line. They do show up in our P&L when we miss those deadlines, when we are reactive in our decision making instead of proactive in our decision making, when we have constant turnover with our team. We also have to be concerned about the cost of that as well, because the churn cost when it comes to employees is really expensive. When you think about the time that it takes you to recruit, train, and hire and train, and for them to leave, and you have to do that all over again. And these are things that are results of burnout. Another result of burnout or cost of burnout are the effects to our health, whether it's our mental health or our physical health. When you, as the CEO, are not well and you are down, your business either slows down and in some cases it stops. And so burnout is an expensive thing that your business cannot afford. Let's think about, like, burnout also causes us to lose creativity. Sometimes we stop growing, and then we lose the joy for the work that we've done and the business that we've built. And so, again, the true cost of burnout, it is a lot. Here's a quote that I want to leave with you around that cost. Burnout doesn't steal your energy, it robs your creativity, your clarity, and your cash flow. So now let's talk about some of the red flags that you want to look for when to see if you are burnt out, right? If you're constantly working but never feel like you're done, um, that could be a sign of burnout. If you are saying yes when you really mean no, and this could be to clients, to projects, to team members, to tasks, this is a sign that you are burnt out. Here's one. If you don't take vacations, or when you do, you feel guilty, or worse, you take your laptop, this is a sign that you are burnt out. If your business feels more like a burden than the vehicle of freedom that you thought you were creating, this is also a sign of burnout. So let's talk about what are some of the financial boundaries that you can put in place to protect your peace when it comes to this. First thing is paying yourself like an employee and not an afterthought. This is something that I speak about a lot because it is so important. And there are so many entrepreneurs who are not paying themselves, or they guise it as, oh, I'm reinvested in the business. But here's the thing: if you are working in your business and you are not paying yourself a reasonable or a decent wage, you are going to one day resent your business. Or worse, your family may resent your business, because if you're not contributing to the household, maybe your spouse is carrying the entire burden of financing the household. And this, again, can create resentment for him or her, right? Um, It can also create resentment in your children because if you are always working, always busy, but you don't ever have money, your kids are going to be wondering, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And why is your business taking up so much of your time and it's not giving anything back to the household? And so making sure that you're paying yourself is another way to ensure that you're not burning yourself out. Use your calendar to protect your time and your energy, right? And so, one of the things that I always recommend, I love block scheduling, for it works for me. And I'm not saying that this is going to work for everybody, but block scheduling works for me. I like to do like things together. So I do my calls and I go do them back to back so I can be in the mode for calls. And then after my calls, then I have time that I do other things, right? And I mentally have time on my calendar for certain type of work. So client work, admin, not admin in the sense of administrative, but more like strategic work for my business. Those all happen at different times. And I use my calendar to make sure that when my energy is high, this is when I am doing very important work. All right. Say no to clients that drain you. Money at any cost of your peace is too expensive, right? So when you have those clients that are not following the procedures that you set up, or they just really aren't a good fit for your business, be strong enough to say no. And I know that sometimes people feel like they have to say yes to this client because they need the money. But trust me, when you say yes to the wrong things, you close the door on the right things. And I've experienced this in my entire life. Every time I say no to the wrong thing, I am making space for the right things. And those when those right things come, I have the space for it. And so make sure you're doing that. And then the last thing that I want to share is to invest in help, even if it's part-time, even if it's virtual. Get help before you get desperate. Because here's the thing, if you hire when you are desperate, you're going to make a bad hire. How do I know? I've done it, right? So you want to get help before you are desperate. When you feel like, hey, I got more than I can do, that's when it's time for you to start thinking about hiring someone. So here's your journal question for the day. What would peace of mind look like for you as a CEO? I want you to write that in your journal. What does peace of mind look like for you as a CEO? Because those are the things that we are working towards. So, thank you so much for pulling up a chair at the CEO table. If today's conversation sparks something in you, share it with a fellow CEO. There's always room at the table. Next time, until the next time, keep leading with strategy, protecting your peace, and honoring your legacy. I will see you next week, same time, same table.